Fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones. The ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, in the yellow building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich. Welcome to episode 772 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley and this is Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Good evening, sir.
Is it really us?
I can't answer that for you. That's something you have to figure out.
Couple of slackers or what?
Or what?
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been just hectic the last couple of weeks. You were sick the week. We actually were both pretty crook the week before.
Yep.
Last week I had a business expo seminar thingy.
A sexpo. Cool.
No, that would have been far more entertaining than what I had to get to. At least there would have been a point to that.
Yeah.
No,
really big one.
Or three. Yeah, I went to Ipswich, just trying to be all hip and cool, and they were trying to host a small business expo, which was basically to showcase small businesses and
I was going to say, was the expo small or was the expo for small businesses, as in a small business
both.
expo or a small business expo?
A bit of both. It wasn't great, and they just had no idea how to run it, because it's supposed to be open to the public so the public can see what small businesses are around.
Yep.
But at the same time, they wanted the vendors to have a look around to see what other small businesses are around. So they had it on a Thursday from like 9 till 4.
Yep.
So any member of the public who wanted to come and have a look would have been at work. So almost nobody comes through the gates.
Yep.
And then it finished at 5 technically. And then they were supposed to have what they call an after 5, which is when the businesses get together, sit down, have a couple of drinks, have a chat. So they decided that'd be the perfect time to host a sales pitch for an online checkout. What was it? Shopify, actually. I was trying to think of the name.
All right.
So they decided at 5 o'clock they were going to start their sales pitch for Shopify that went for 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Which, in that period of time, that was when we were supposed to walk around all the stalls and have a look and see who's doing what and where and everything.
Networking.
So, not only did no members of the public turn up, no small businesses got to look at other small businesses because they're too busy hosting a sales pitch.
So it's a complete fail.
So it was a complete fail. It was a waste of time, a waste of a lot of money.
And a day off for you where you could have been working.
Yeah. Well, I had to shut the shop for a day because I can't be in 2 places at once despite my best efforts.
Yeah.
So I had to shut the shop to be at the expo, and not only that, I didn't get to see who else was at the expo because I was in the stall all day by myself, so I couldn't leave. I was relying on going and having a look later that night, which I couldn't do because everyone was stuck at this stupid sales thing that you couldn't talk over because it was run through the PA for the whole premises. So,
God,
it was just a schmozzle. I actually requested my money back from them,
Yep.
so I'll see how that goes.
Yeah, good
Don't know
luck,
my
because
chances,
you
but
bloody deserve to get it back after that.
I don't know my
Shambles.
chances. I don't think I will, but at least I'm not the only one. Apparently, there was a lot of very unhappy people.
Yep.
So we'll see what that translates to. But
Did they get sponsorship from Spotify so they got a free 2-hour...
no, sort of. But Spotify, I don't
Shopify.
understand the
Guys, sorry, I said Spotify, sorry.
And I followed your lead. Shopify didn't. I don't understand really what the point was, because they're already all established businesses and they already all have their websites and their
Online shopping.
whatever they're using, whether it's web shops or whether they don't have a web shop. You know what I mean? It's already all in place.
Yep.
Like, and after somebody's been standing at a stall for 8 or 10 hours, they're really going to be impressed by a demonstration for the next 2 hours on how good a product is. The absolute last thing you're going to do is like even remotely listen to what's been said to you, even though you couldn't talk over it because it was so loud. But you're not going to pay any attention to it. You're just going to sit there, eat, and have a couple of drinks.
And being a business, you would have already explored all of the online shopping things and know what's available, what you can afford, and whether you're going to go with Shopify or Ecwid or...
Well, we ended up going with ECWid for several reasons. Price is one of them.
Yep.
But some of the things we could do with it, we couldn't do. Like with Shopify, you've effectively got a host
on their servers.
Basically hosted on their own domain, on their domain, more or less.
Yep.
Among other things. And they started, and what really annoyed me was at the end of it, they were taking questions and stuff. And I said, I said to him, look, I'm using ECWid currently. I said, because it does this, this, and this, and this. You've just finished spruiking for 2 hours how good your software is. Can you do any of that?
Nope.
Oh, next question. I'm like, so not only have you been annoying me with your crap for the last 2 hours, you don't even have the guts to admit that your software is not actually as good as you've just finished telling me it is.
Yep.
That, by the way, nobody else asked any more questions.
No, you wouldn't have. They're not going to answer the bloody thing. Anyone got a question?
Yeah.
Yep. No, we're not going to answer it. Well,
yeah, no. And it's like, so not impressed. Nothing about it. And what really annoyed me was the initial layout that I approved when they sent through stall layouts and stuff. I was going to be down the end. They had a lot of automotive. They had mobility scooters. They had mechanics. They had
or your area.
A couple of solar guys, a couple off-grid guys, like that general area. But their reasoning lacks logic completely. They ended up moving me down the other end, and I was with real estate agents and healthcare people and stuff like that. And I'm like,
why?
And I said, why did you move me? And they said, oh, because we couldn't fit you in with the layout that we had. So hang on, I said, you had 100 vendors. You still have 100 vendors. Moving me from here to here doesn't change how many people you can hold in the facility. You still got 100 vendors.
Yep.
Oh, but they just fit better.
100 pissed off vendors now.
What? So yeah, no, there's a lot of very unhappy people that hopefully will. I spoke to a lot of people that said they were going to put a complaint in. I don't actually know whether or not that they followed through with that, but it's like, come on, guys, I get what you're trying to do, but if you don't know how to do it, ask people who do. Because I've literally been to hundreds, and I've managed and hosted and run, as well as been a vendor, a customer, and a consumer, and helped set up well over 100 of these events.
Yep.
You know, I do actually know what I'm doing, and like when I, you know, there are other people out there's event coordinators who do this for a living.
Yeah. Surely
you could find one of those to actually tell you literally everything that you did wrong.
Well, then we would have to give them money. Wouldn't want to do that. I mean, wouldn't the point be to get you lot to have a great time and everything work well, and so next year you'd be like, yeah, I'm down with that shit. But now everyone's going to be like, screw that, I'm not going. So they'll have two vendors next year and go, well, it looks like it's a failure. We're not able to hold this kind of event in this area. And it's like, no, that's not why it was a failure.
But not only that, like I paid nearly $500 to have a site. I also paid to have a gazebo on a table because I didn't have mine at the time, or they weren't ready. I do have some on the way, but they're not done yet.
Yep.
So it was $280 or something if you had all that, and like $495 or something if you wanted all that supplied. Which is, I was happy to pay that. That was fine. But then when I got there, they wanted another $14 an hour to access their wireless internet.
You tell them to go jump.
Excuse me? I did.
Yeah.
I said, look, so I
See, this is my wireless internet right here. I carry it with me every day in my pocket.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost me anything extra.
I actually said that because there was a couple. Well, they didn't have that written anywhere. They just had internet available on site. They didn't say you had to pay for it because you've just paid them $500. Heaven forbid they give you internet for free. And a couple of the vendors around me, I just gave them my password for my phone and tethered off my phone.
Yep.
I said, I'm happy to let you guys do it. It's not like I don't have it's not like I don't have enough data.
You can look up your real estate stuff right here.
Yeah. But I just like, I don't understand how, and probably the thing that annoys me the most is, because this is done through the Ipswich Department of Commerce or whatever they call themselves.
Yep.
It's run by volunteers and stuff, which is, I don't have a Chamber of Commerce, they call themselves, that's right. Which I don't have a problem with it in that regard. But what annoyed me was they're like, oh, we're all small business owners. We know the struggle. I'm like, yeah, but you're not, because you're all established business owners with multiple locations in multiple towns. You might technically be a small business owner, but you have forgotten what it's like to be a small business startup.
Yeah.
It's entirely different to being a successful business owner. They're not even remotely the same. Like nothing that's been here tonight, everything, because they had shows up on the stage during the day for the public, I'm assuming, to go and watch, even though there wasn't anybody there.
Yep.
And they were all on, how to grow your business from this to this, and when you've got more than 5 employees, you can do this, and it's like, yep, that's fine, but absolutely nothing at this business startup meeting was for startups.
No.
It's just, anyway, that was my
grinds my gears.
The other problem with that, it was effectively 3 days for me, because we had to bump in on the Wednesday night, because you weren't allowed to bump in until after 5, between 5 and 9 Wednesday night.
Yep.
Then you had to be there at 7 for a 9 o'clock start Thursday morning.
Yep.
And then if you stayed till the after 5, means you left at like 9 o'clock that night. So you were there for 14 hours. And then you had to bump out on Friday morning between 7 and 9.
Yep.
So, and you weren't allowed to bump in or out on the Thursday. So it became a 3-day event.
Yeah, and not worth it.
I don't have that time. Like, it's okay if I had a couple of employees, I could send them down there to do that.
Yeah.
But I can't afford 4 hours out of this day and 4 hours out of that day and 12 hours out of that day to go and do something that should take me 10 minutes.
You say my son's not old enough to do it himself yet?
Well, that was the other problem, because I've still got to figure out how, in amongst all this, I'm still trying to figure out how to take him to school and bring him home. And because the school he goes to, they don't have a bus service. They're too small. There's like 45 kids in the whole school.
Yep.
So there's no bus service and stuff. So I still had to work out how to actually get to the school. Yeah. So that's why I was just exhausted after that day. I'm like, no, I just can't.
Yeah.
So
Any wonder? We forgive you. Thousands wouldn't. We'll make up for it.
Complaining. I'm not. I'm grateful that they're even trying to do stuff like this, but they just really just ask for help. It's not hard. If you don't know how to do something, ask somebody who does. All they had to do is put a thing up on their Facebook page and say, hey, suggestions welcome.
Yep.
I would have given them lots and lots of them.
Yeah.
Well, I did give them lots and lots of them in the end.
Yeah.
So.
They won't learn.
But yeah, so I've had that, and then we've actually finally got, well, I say we finally got winter as I sit here with the fan beside me. We've had 1 and 2 degree mornings, and we're still having like 28, 29 degree.
Wow.
So
how's it going between like 5 and I think 17 at the max?
Yeah. So we've been getting, we had fog today. It didn't start to get foggy until like 8 o'clock.
All right.
And then at stayed foggy until like 3.
Yeah.
But it was like 26 degrees or something.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's
The weather's
nuts.
so screwed up at the moment. So screwed up.
Sadly, I'm down to one solar battery now because LG Chem's got a recall on because they might catch fire and stuff, which probably isn't good. I mean, in winter, it could warm you for a short time,
Preheater.
but
Well, I say the heat's the most expensive part of the thing.
that's right, yeah. And it might let the smoke out too. So, I mean, I've got the Tesla Powerwall 2 still going, but it's halved my battery capacity now. So, I guess I'm just going to be exporting quite a lot, which you don't actually get that much for exporting anyway. So,
Especially now, not with the... Was it today? No. The 20th it starts, isn't it?
The regulator has taken over.
Yeah. Their first job. Let's double the power.
Yep.
That was literally the first thing they said, and they said, "Let's just make it twice as expensive because you still have to pay it anyway."
Yeah. So that was confusing for Amber, who I'm through. They've got the smart shift where they monitor the price throughout the day, and when they expect a spike is coming, they switch over to your solar, particularly if it's in the afternoons and evenings when you're not generating a lot, then you would be taking it from the grid when everybody else is, so the price is going to be high, and then they can switch it back off again to go cheap overnight. But they said, look, we give up. We can't predict what's going to be happening from half hour or from hour to hour or anything anymore. And then the what do they call them? The group that takes over, manages it all, took over all of the energy providers, managed them in Australia, and said, here's a ceiling of how much you can charge people and operate at a loss, which they're not really doing because it's just fast to get profit. But the regulator.
The retailers, the power regulator,
Yeah.
The wholesalers, well, the wholesaler isn't losing, but the retailers will be.
Yeah, so a lot of the retailers went, we'll just shut down. We're not going to do retail to the public anymore. Maybe some businesses, but if you're with us, go find somebody else. Bye bye.
Yeah, well, my mob, who I can never remember what they're called because it's a weird name.
It's like ethereal or something.
I'll have a quick look through. Elysium.
Elysium.
Yeah.
That was a movie with Matt Damon.
Elysium. Elysian.
He was ELYSIUM.
Elysium. Yeah. They've given their new price list and stuff they've put out, and they've basically laid it all out. Like they've said at your current usage with the solar rebate they've had to reduce, and the power consumption going up, our bill's going to go up about $790 a year.
Yikes. Yeah, a lot of people were saying, I just got a letter. They say we're going to double the price you've been charged.
Ours isn't quite going double because I've got so much solar going in.
Yep.
So I have, I can put in stupid amounts of solar during the day and run the entire house with the aircon and everything. So my daytime usage is always in the negative.
Yep.
Even when it's cloudy, I still manage to put in more than I take out.
That's pretty good.
I've got 16 kilowatts of solar, so I've got plenty of solar.
Yep.
But it's the nighttime usage is the problem. Like even my computer sitting here with the 3 screens and the high graphics card and everything else. It's close on like 1,000 watts an hour. It's 850 watts or something an hour it draws. So you got to think that's now going to cost me 55 cents an hour just to run my computer.
Yeah.
Whereas at the moment it costs me, actually overnight, at the moment we're on a night split. So I think we're only paying 11 cents or something of a night. But they're ditching the day-night splits. It's just going to be a flat rate. It's going to be 55 cents. So my computer's going to go from basically leaving on, let's say I leave it on overnight because I normally do. So from like 4 when you lose sun to like 8 when you get sun, so it's at 16 hours.
Yep.
No, 14 hours. Yeah. So let's say it was going to cost, what's that? $10.40. It was costing about $1.50 a day to run my computer. It's now going to cost what's that? $7.50.
Yep.
Roughly. So it's going to go from costing me $10 a week to $40 a week to run my computer.
Yep. Bit more.
$40 a week to run a computer.
By itself, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It is. I'm currently doing 0.7 kilowatts.
Yeah. Have you got the aircon on?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think my daughter's one's on, but mine is.
Yeah, mine, I haven't checked mine for a while, but last time I checked, my computer pulls, well, probably not at the moment because I'm not recording, so I'm not recording and streaming. The last time I checked that I was doing that, so I was using more power.
Yep.
So even if we cut that down to, instead of 800, we call it 500, it's still 30%. So it's still going to be, you know, what's that, 35 bucks a week to run it. My car, because I have the electric fan, it doesn't cost me that much to run that for the week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It cost me $14 to run that for the week.
Yeah.
So my computer cost me twice as much to run as my car.
Yeah. Oh, no. So you're going to have to start shutting everything down.
So, and it worked because we're on a commercial account. It's not that noticeable because we were on 28 cents or something anyway.
Yep.
And its commercial rates are only going to like 36.
Yep.
The only difference is you don't get we used to get nighttime tariffs between, I think it was between like 9 of a night and 3 of a morning. You used to basically almost get it for free. It was only a couple of cents.
Yep.
I think the difference is they're dropping that now. So you're paying the same flat rate. So our power bill at work won't go up much, thankfully.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to be horrible at home.
Yeah.
And gas is going up too, because we got gas for our hot water and gas stove and everything.
Oh, okay.
And that's going from 100 for a big, what are they, 90 kilo bottle? They're going from 110 or 120 to like 190 or something.
Yikes.
So they're going up as well.
Yeah, I got the because I've got Amber, they've just released a new beta. They've got a beta app which I've been using, and it gives you a lot more information than the standard app did. But
Amber just sent me an email.
It's about the superhero mode that they're adding into the beta now. So what you can do if you want to help out the grid, switch on superhero mode, and from midday to like 3 or 4 in the afternoon when there's tons of renewable energy in the grid, you can suck it all into your battery, and then as long as you've got more than 33% left in your battery at about 6 or 7 at night, it'll shove it all back in there at higher rate that you can feed in tariff. So hopefully that could be a good thing to try out. I don't know.
They're sending me another $5 credit. From a DMO from like, oh shit, it'd have to be 3 or 4 months since I've been with them.
Yeah. I got one for the next bill. I'm going to get $45.67, 4567 credit, and then there was another bill for I think it was last month, it was like $45 or something for credit, because they have, if people don't know, they have insurance on the price for the electricity, and if the price goes up too high, they actually use the insurance to credit you for the excess that you would normally be charged like everybody else. So it's not too bad. It's a little bit extra per month just for that, but it can turn out to be worth it if there's sudden hikes and stuff.
I love the way they're blaming sanctions against Russia as a major exporter of coal, gas, and oil, as if we buy anything from them anyway.
People are like, Russia, nobody can get it from Russia, so everybody's getting it from everywhere except for Russia, and therefore the prices go up everywhere else because everybody's buying from everywhere except for where they used to get it from.
Major coal and gas shortages have seen coal stations temporarily go offline. Why do we have a coal shortage? We have the largest coal deposits in the world.
Yeah. And they're just saying one of the Australia's largest coal mine is shutting down because they tried to sell it and nobody would buy it. So I don't know what's going on there.
It's so stupid, the whole lot of it.
It's bloody ridiculous, mate.
They let morons run the country, and they turn the country into a country full of morons. I mean, it's just...
Yep. Follow the money.
Anyway.
I did get a replacement fan for my daughter's room because she had a ceiling fan with one of the manual clicky click things. And it's had it makes a lot of noise when it was wobbling around. And it's had a cable dangling down the center of it with a socket for the light bulb dangling down and a Google LIFX bulb in there. And it's half burned cable and stuff. I think somebody must have had a bulb that went kablooey at some stage, or I don't know what, but it looks frayed. And
they're only rated to 60 watts. A lot of people used to put 100 watt bulbs in them to make it brighter.
Yeah.
And that's what used to do it.
So I found a Arlec smart Boston model. They call it fan with a built-in LED light that you can connect to Google Assistant and or Alexa, and just run the whole thing through an app. So he took the control off the wall, and I've since gyprock paint filled that back in again, so there's no hole there, and she can control everything from the phone, or just say, Google, turn on the fan, or set the fan to this speed, or turn the light on, and stuff like that, as she did before. But it's a lot nicer and just works really well.
Yeah, I've got the older version of that, the Arlec, where it's got doesn't have the thing on the wall, it's just got a remote that you can take with you. And they're fine.
Yeah, it's got a remote too, sorry.
Yeah. The biggest problem is you get a blackout. You can tell when you've had a blackout because you come home and the light's on and the fan's on.
That happens with the LIFX ones too. You can tell if there's been a brownout during the night because you wake up at 2 a.m. and the room is like broad daylight, and you're like, fuck's sake, Google, turn the damn thing off. I'm going blind.
It's too hard to put non-volatile memory in it so that it remembers its last state.
That's right. I mean, it uploads all the connections to the internet anyway, so it could download that or just have a little bit of it. No.
All it needs to have is a non-volatile memory with a 0 or a 1.
Yeah,
it was either on or it was off. It's not like it needs a lot of memory to know this.
That's right. Yeah. She said,
it doesn't know the time or the date or anything. It just needs to know what its last state was.
She said, I was a bit spooked the other morning. I woke up and the light was already on in the bedroom, but I didn't turn it on. I was like, oh, maybe we had a brownout or something, but we shouldn't have too much of that because, I mean, it depends on the speed that the battery kicks in, I guess.
It depends. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and your battery's flat, it's not going to switch over too.
Yeah.
I have had, I've got the Genio, whatever they are. Mirabella, I think they are. Genios. I've got those ones, and I only got them because they're on sale. They're normally $30 or something, and Drake's was getting rid of them at like $10 a pop. So I thought, if nothing else, they're just handy to have lights.
Yeah.
But they're garbage in terms of their reliability. Like, you can be in the room and you can just make a lot of noise and like drop something on the floor, or you can bump the thing and it just turns off, or it changes colors, or it's so bad in terms of its stability. Well,
I tell you what, I rang up my electrician and I was like, are you install fans? He's like, oh yeah, no problem. What do you need? And I said, well, I already bought one from Bunnings. He's like, say that again. I said, I went down to Bunnings and I bought one so that you wouldn't have to. He's like, look, you shouldn't just go out buying them from Bunnings, because problem is, if I can install it, no problem, but if something goes faulty, I have to come back, uninstall it, then you take it to Bunnings, and then they repair or replace it, then you bring it back, and then they don't send anybody out to repair it if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I did already buy this. So he's like, oh, well, I'll come have a look. So he came around to install it, and he's like, "Oh, okay, it's an Arlec. They're actually a good brand." I don't know if he's got a deal because he's an electrician or he just has preferences or whatever. But he said, just down the road here, we got Setnaj, and I would get you a fan from Setnaj and install it. And if something goes wrong, Setnaj will send somebody around and they'll fix it for you. So you don't have all this. But he's like, okay, the Arlec is actually a good brand, so you did all right there. But
and the thing is, the Arlec will last, at least 5 years, if not a bit more.
Yep.
And for that price, for the couple $100 you pay for it, doesn't after that time, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
You can get the other fans that cost 3 or 4 times as much, and still ain't gonna last 5 years. So
yeah,
they just don't last.
I was the same with shoes. I was always buying like the $40 ones from Kmart or whatever, and friends like, oh, if you buy like the $300 ones from Athlete's Foot or something, they'll last forever and they're fantastic. And so I did, and it lasted the same 6 months worth of time as the $40 ones. And I was like, well, let's not do that again.
Yeah, I had I've always used red-backed boots, like $100 a pair, and I couldn't get them 1 year, so I wasn't gonna get Bloodstones because they were like 3 times the price. I think I got Max or something, like what you would expect to be a reasonable brand.
Yep.
And like I get 2 to 3 years out of my redbacks, and I got like 6 months out of the Max. And they were like twice the price.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're like, okay. Nope, doesn't work like that. Just because it costs more doesn't mean it's going to be better.
True.
Do we do some news? We've had half a show already.
Well, that's okay because there's not much happening in the news. So,
nearly a year after it took a 25% stake in broadband retailer More, the Commonwealth Bank is using NBN services as a sweetener to lure customers. CBA will offer pre-approved home loan customers 3 years of free NBN services, which it said in a statement could save eligible customers more than $2,700. Existing customers are offered 30% off more NBN plans for a year if they sign up using debit or credit cards to pay. CBA says its research showed 1/3 of customers expecting interest rate rises will be on the lookout for cheap utility and services offers to offset higher mortgage payments. More co-founder Andrew Branson said the offer will also mean that customers can take possession of their property with the NBN already connected. As well as taking a stake in More, CBA last July bought 25% of Tangerine with a view using the brands to deliver personalised broadband through its CommBank app. Its foray into broadband retailing followed earlier investments in e-commerce startup Little Birdie, electricity retailer Amber, and others. So I thought that was interesting. CBA is investing in Amber.
No, it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're offering free NBN though. I mean, half the time the houses are built before the NBN even goes in.
Yeah. And you don't know if or what kind it's going to get. It's got an NBN, not the NBN that you probably want.
Yeah. You can have 2G.
Yeah.
Be happy about it.
We call that NBN.
That's it. So, speaking of internet, yes, let's go with that. After 27 years as Microsoft Windows web browser, Internet Explorer is no longer supported.
Womp womp.
Well, that was 26 years too long, but anyway.
We didn't want to support it, did we?
It doesn't mean the legacy Windows browser still isn't in use, and despite years of warnings, it seems that people aren't ready for a change. I don't know. Mostly governments, I'd imagine.
Yep.
It's been just over a year since Microsoft announced it would drop support for IE on June 15th. Since then, it has been persuading customers to move to Edge and use IE mode on Edge for legacy applications and websites that need it. Because so many websites still need Internet Explorer. Mainly governments. IE mode will be supported until at least 2029. Microsoft has tried to prepare customers for this event for years. In 2019, before it declared the end of the date, Microsoft execs declared IE 11 a compatibility solution that should not be used as the default browser. That's because Microsoft is well aware of how long it can take to wean users off a major version of a browser. The company retired IE6 in 2014, 14 years after the browser shipped with Windows XP, with a final patch for IE6 in January 2016, but it spent many years before that imploring businesses to ditch IE6 because of its outdated security design, mostly governments. I think some of the sites are still IE6 compatible.
Yeah.
IE7 actually, I know they are because I went to a site the other day with Firefox and it said it's an incompatible browser. You may only use Internet Explorer 6 IE6. Like it literally said that. It wouldn't support Chrome. It wouldn't support anything else. It was a government. It was admittedly, it was an archive site, but it was still a government website.
Yeah.
So
just get one of those plugins that changes the user agent to IE6.
I tried that in Firefox. It didn't work. Like it physically loaded the page, but the page actually didn't work. So I don't know what they'd written it in.
It's Microsoft's own fault.
They probably use Netscape Navigator.
ActiveX technology.
Well, it probably was ActiveX and Java, so it just refused to load the website.
Yeah, because they don't have Java plugins anymore, and
like it loaded the banner.
What was their flashlight product? Flash product, Silverlight or something, wasn't it?
Silverlight's their version of Flash. Yeah,
it probably runs on that too.
That was horrendous, man.
It just took over the web and became the next biggest technology, Silverlight.
Well, it did for a couple of years when everybody started using. Everybody was forced away from Netscape Navigator because Microsoft broke it.
Yep.
So it wouldn't work, and they went to not Visual Basic. What was Microsoft's attempt at a WYSIWYG?
Web forms.
Developer. I can't remember what it's called. It was part of the Office suite. But yeah, you could develop
front
page. Yeah. Remember, everyone ditched Netscape Navigator because Microsoft broke it, so everyone went to front page for 2 or 3 years with these Silverlight banners and yes,
bad memories. I'm trying to block it out, Mr. T.
No wonder I couldn't remember.
Warm safe place.
Yeah, I know, right? IE6, where are we? IE7 succeeded. That should have been superseded. Yep. Anyway, in 2006, but so many companies continued using that in 2009. Microsoft created Friends Don't Let Friends Use IE6 campaign.
Or any other Microsoft product if you can help it.
Yeah. Due to criminal flaws affecting only IE6. Due to criminal flaws. That's supposed to be critical flaws. Well, what is... Did
you get that from the IT news site that I was telling you?
No, this is from ZDNet.
Oh, they're as bad now.
They're as bad as IT news. In 2011, it launched an I-E-6 countdown page to observe usage drop to below 1% worldwide. In China, IE6 usage was still at 34% at the time.
Still is now.
Yeah.
In fact, it's gone up. The usage has gone up in China.
Things are different now due to Google Chrome's dominance among desktop browsers, but an enterprise IT management firm, Landsweeper, noted recently 46% of Windows 10 devices used by its enterprise customers will still be affected by IE 11's June 15th retirement.
Dear.
Mostly government, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, they said that if you launch IE anything now, it should automatically direct you to download Edge.
It does, but it still lets you use Internet Explorer. Like there's a don't ask me button or whatever it is. But yeah, it deploys Microsoft Chromium-based Edge. Affected releases of Windows 10 include the most current version 2.1H2 as well as 2.1H1 and 2.0H2. Some geographies might be affected more by IE. Nikkei Asia reports that 49% of enterprise respondents surveyed in Japan this March are still using Internet Explorer 7. Over 20% of them didn't know how to move to other browsers.
That's very sad. Didn't they used to be a leader in technology?
Microsoft has now posted a blog in English, Japanese, and Korean to explain how it's changed.
Please don't use our shit.
So Windows 10 users will soon see a message which you can choose to accept or ignore. Sites that require Internet Explorer can be reloaded with IE mode in Edge. According to Microsoft, users need to select continue to see the site in Edge, which will automatically import favorites, passwords, histories, cookies, and etc. This migration to Edge will happen over the next few months. After that, it will release an update. This is going to, well, it probably won't because most people in a lot of those countries don't have legitimate copies anyway and have updates turned off.
Mm-hmm.
But Microsoft's going to release an update through Windows Update that will remove IE 11.
I don't know, you had a lot of trouble disabling updates and stopping them from coming down, didn't you? Maybe they can't either.
No, but I had a legitimate copy.
Yeah, but you still couldn't turn off updates even when you wanted to.
Well, a lot of the hacked copies have them turned off by default.
Yep.
All the ones I've ever installed, they've got the automatic updates turned off by default because they include the latest service packs and they include all the patches that don't mess with the security side of it.
Yep.
And they just turn them off.
Ah.
So that's going to be interesting. That's about the interesting stuff. But yeah, so it's this is to ease users towards the 2029 end of life for IE mode. Edge asks every user 30 days to see if they still need IE mode for that website. But that's up to the website. That's not up to the user. If a website, they can't just redesign the website to work in. Oh man,
it's a joke.
So we learnt two things from this. One is that ZDNet can't spell or type or proofread.
Yep.
And two, that IE is as bad as everyone thinks it is. Otherwise, Microsoft wouldn't be trying to get rid of it.
That's right. Even they know.
Yeah, that's what I learnt.
New South Wales Digital Minister Victor Dominello says Australia's planned digital birth...
The digital minister, is he just only a...
He's like a Vocaloid. Yeah. New South Wales Digital Minister Victor Dominello said Australia's planned digital birth certificate is key to ensuring state and territory governments and businesses can verify digital identity credentials. The state government has spent the last 2 years looking for a solution to allow its prized digital driver's licence to be accepted in greater number of places. Despite passing legislation to put the DDL, which is digital driver's license, on equal footing with traditional licenses more than 18 months ago, businesses still require the plastic card in situations like buying a phone, hiring a car, or taking out a loan. After ditching an initial proposal for a copy solution to allow businesses to take copies of DDL, the government in late 2020 decided to work with the banks on a validation solution. Unlike the copy solution, the validation solution was to be capable of hiding unnecessary information depending on the identity requirements of the business. But as reported this week, the government is now looking to pilot a verifiable credential. It is also continuing to work with private sector providers like banks on digital solutions. While the nature of the credential was not known at the time, it now appears that the country's planned digital birth certificate and its underpinning platform holds the key. Dominello took to LinkedIn on Wednesday to spruik the digital birth certificate, which New South Wales is leading on behalf of births, deaths and marriages registries across Australia. Dominello said the project would enable a nationally recognised system for birth certificates and potentially other credentials from one state to be recognised in another. If we get this right, it could be a platform or framework for many other applications as a source of so much friction as people move or work between states and territories, he said. As an illustration, whilst the DDL has been downloaded by 73% of drivers in New South Wales, it's still not recognised by other states and territories and many organisations such as banks. This is why the digital birth certificate is such a big reform with national consequences. It is critical we get it right. As revealed last month, software firm ThoughtWorks has been selected to build out proof of concept digital birth certificate that is the result of more than 18 months' work. The solution is expected to become available to New South Wales residents in late 2022, while other jurisdictions to gain access from next year. There's not much point in having a digital driver's license or certificate if everywhere says, no, we don't accept that.
I have a lot to say on that situation. I'm not really going to because it's not.
Oh, come
really
on, that's what we
appropriate
come
show,
for.
But I will say that a couple of years ago, Queensland spent a whole heap of money on digital driver's license.
Mhm.
They went and got the smart cards. And actually, even my current driver's license is a smart card. And they put a whole heap of money into the back end and the development, and actually had a fairly good system going. And then realized cross compatibility with other states, because none of our states are regulated the same way. Internationally, Interpol, like, they just realized that there was such a myriad of compatibility and as I say, like, even things like loans and phones and stuff that require information aren't set up for it. And after investing 4 or 5 years, and I think the number off the top of my head was over $500,000, over 500 million, approaching like $1 billion.
Yep.
They had a lot of the stuff in place to do it. They canned it because the more problems they tried to solve, the more problems they discovered.
Yep.
And they went, nah, look, at this point, let's just cut our losses and be done with it, because it's basically, because at the time Queensland was the only state doing it, and then, like, it's basically impossible for this to be a legitimate process.
Yeah.
It makes it our life easy to issue people with a digital driver's license, but that's the end of it. Nothing else from that process is easy.
Yeah.
Whether it's from the consumer's point of view, whether it's from a third party point of view, whether it's even like fraud is now going to be impossible to prove, because how do you prove that you own a digital copy of this data?
Yeah.
Or how do you prove that belongs to you? If the digital copy of this data you have says that you are the person who owns it, then how do you prove that somebody else who has the same version of that data isn't you?
Stick it on the blockchain that fixes everything.
Yeah. And so that basically was what it came down to. They decided that that's the best decision they've made in many, many years. Yeah, they threw some money at it, but they discovered all these problems, and that's some of them. That article really only just touches on the myriad of problems they're going to run into.
Yeah, it has to be national or nothing for starters.
It has to be international. It can't even be national, because so much of the like passports, for example, aren't equipped to set up for a digital ID for like a driver's license.
Yep.
So there's this whole roll-on effect. Like, you might go to another, like, there's a lot of countries where if you have a valid driver's license from another country, you can apply to get a local driver's license. So you just need to basically show them you have a driver's license, answer 10 questions about the local road rules, and they'll give you a license. Well, the thing is, most of those countries aren't going to have access to the digital license. So if you have a digital license, you can't prove that you have one.
A lot of them probably wouldn't even know about. So you go, no, here's my license. It's on my phone. They'd be like, yeah, good one. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And then here's the other thing: if businesses get to the point where they do accept digital, like, it's technically illegal even to send or to request. So if you're applying for a loan, it's actually technically illegal for the bank or the loan officer to request identifiable information over email.
Yep. It
technically has to legally, and nobody, with a couple of exceptions, nobody really enforces this. You technically have to, if they are required to see that form of identification, by rights, you're supposed to go to a JP, get a certified copy from a JP, put it into a secure post pack,
yep,
and send it with secure via Australia Post via a secure postage. That's technically the only way that you can do it. Sending them a copy of your driver's license and bank card is actually technically illegal. And this is exactly why, because if somebody else has, especially these days with photos and photocopiers and imagery being as good as it is, if somebody in a phone store gets a hold of your driver's license, they chuck on their photocopier, they scan the front, scan the back, and then chuck it on your file.
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing stopping them from turning that into a physical copy of your driver's license.
Yeah.
Once you've got the driver's license, you can get bills in your name. Once you get bills in your name, you become that person.
Yep.
So I'm as much as I love technology, there are certain things that I don't approve of, and this is one of them for many reasons. But compatibility is the biggest problem. It's just not practical. Look at the schmozzle that the government had trying to handle QR codes.
Yep.
And you think they're going to handle actual real information?
Well, my dad's phone is too old. It doesn't know what a QR code is.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing either. It was so funny. There was one point there where I got jack of everybody asked me to sign, which I never signed it anyway, but I got sick and tired of people asking me to do it. So I went and bought a $29 candy bar phone.
Yep.
That doesn't have a camera or anything on it.
Sorry, can't do it.
And that you got to walk in somewhere and they go, you need to sign in. And you're like, so how do I sign in? They're like, oh, you need to scan your phone. So I'd get my phone, I'd walk up to it and go, beep, there you go. Oh, no, you need, and I'd show them my phone, they'd go,
What is that?
Okay.
What are they going to do?
Give a kid under 30 a candy bar phone and you watch the confusion come across their face. It's got buttons and a little nubbly antenna
LCD screen.
And no camera. And what do you do with this thing? It's so funny. I had so much fun. So basically, I if you're one of those people who wants this digital stuff to go ahead, don't hold your breath. It's certainly not going to happen.
It's a good idea, but it's not going to happen overnight. In theory.
Here's the other problem too. It's like the whole MyGov thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've got your Medicare, you've got your tax stuff, you've
Child
got
support
settling
services.
stuff, you've got all that through one portal.
Which doesn't work.
Well, that's fine, but my portal hasn't worked since the day they set it up. I can't access any of that. I can't even order a new Medicare card because you have to do that through the portal, which I can't access. So, like, I physically cannot access my portal. Nobody can fix it. They can't reset it because you can only reset it from within inside the portal, which I can't access.
Jeez.
So I can't access, like, my accountants has to do my tax, and I have to assume they're doing the right thing because I don't have access to my tax. I don't have access to my Medicare stuff. I don't have access to any of the old settling information I need. I don't have access to that. And then they
Family
want to
benefits.
Which I don't. I mean, we don't have any of that stuff anyway, but I don't have access to any of that. And then they wanted to put like my medical records and stuff when I go
My
to the
health.
doctor. I'm like, yeah. And when I go to the doctor, I'm like, can you send me a copy? They're like, oh, it'll be on your MyGov thing. So no, send me a copy.
Yeah.
So the government, I don't care if they have it or not, but I can't access it. I want you to send me a copy. Oh, we're not allowed to send it to you. It's a security risk. I said, but it's not a security risk for you to stick it on a public server, but it's a security risk for me to have a copy in my personal email.
Yep.
Yeah. I said, well, I'll tell you what, how about you print it out in your public printer and you place it in the vanilla folder that's behind you with all my details in it. Next time I come in, I'll pick it up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay, we can do that. Because that's not a public... The data risk.
Super secure.
What? Anyway, people don't think. Speaking of secure, Firefox.
Oh.
There you go. End of conversation. Starting today, Firefox is rolling out total cookie protection.
Yay! They're going to protect all my cookies. I'm never going to burn them again in the oven. Is that right?
The cookie monster no longer attacks. Starting today, Firefox is rolling out total cookie protection by default to all Firefox users worldwide, just in case you're a Firefox user who's not in the world.
Oh.
Making Firefox the most private and secure major browser available across Windows, Mac, and Linux. Total cookie protection is Firefox's strongest privacy protection to date, confining cookies to the site where they were created, thus preventing tracking companies from using these cookies to track your browsing from site to site. Whether it's applying for a student loan, seeking treatment advice through a health site, browsing an online dating app, massive amounts of... Okay, so tracking cookies only has limited effect there because it's usually the website that gets hacked rather than the cookies. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Massive amounts of your personal information is online, and this data is leaking all over the web. Ew.
Gross. Clean
The
up in
hyper-
aisle 5.
And 6 and 7. This hyper-specific to you ad, so you often see online, are made possible by cookies that are used to track your behavior across site and build extremely sophisticated profile of who you are. Recent stories, including the excellent last week, tonight episode, whatever, have shown how robust yet under the radar the data selling economy is, and how easy it is for anybody to buy your data, combine it with more data about you, and use it for a variety of purposes. It's an alarming reality, the possibility that every move online has been watched, tracked, and shared, and one that's antithetical. Hey?
Antithetical.
Antithetical? That's not a word.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a word, but it's not a word. And to the open web, we at Mozilla have strived to build. That's why we developed total cookie protection to help keep you safe online. It offers strong protection against tracking without affecting your browsing history. It works by creating a separate cookie jar for each website you visit. Instead of allowing trackers to link up your behavior on multiple sites, they just get to see behavior on individual sites. At any time a website or third-party content embedded in a website deposits a cookie in your browser, the cookie is confined to the cookie jar assigned only to that website. No other websites can reach into the cookie jar that don't belong to them and find out what is on the website's cookies, to find out what the other website's cookies know about you, giving you freedom from invasive ads and reducing the amount of information companies gather about you.
I want to know who took the cookie from the cookie jar.
Well, you'll never be able to find out.
Oh.
It doesn't say specifically how it works. I'd be curious to know if it's like website specific or if it's domain specific, or I'd be curious to know how it works in that regard.
Yep.
Because like if an owner owns, bluebuilder.com and also owns obsidianloft.com, if it's the same owner on the same server, do they share cookies, or is it like specifically locked to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, should be locked to the domain, I would think.
Mm.
But if this comes out and we're protected from the cookies, can we please go back to court and say, can we not have to put pop-ups and little notices and clickable things to say, this site uses cookies to track stuff and save your data? Because everybody has it on all the sites, and by the time you click on, yes, no, I don't accept the cookies, yes, I do, no, I don't want to subscribe to your newsletter, no, I don't want to join your webs, and then I'm like, I just don't want to look at this website anymore. It'll be one less thing off all the millions of websites don't have to say this site's got cookies, because they all do. It's everywhere, so it's not like any one site you go to is like, oh shit, this one's got cookies, I won't go here. They all do. And we don't need to have pop-ups saying, by the way, but EU made it law, so everything has to have it.
Because the EU knows what's going on.
Nope.
Yeah, look, I don't think... And here's the kicker to that. I think if every browser incorporated this, then yes. The problem is when you've got people like Microsoft and Google who rely primarily rely on advertising as their revenue, they're never going to implement this system.
No.
So, I mean, Brave's done something similar, from what I understand. It has the option, I don't know if it's by default, but it certainly has the option to delete the cookies once you leave the website.
Yep.
So it's sort of similar. The upside to the problem with that is if you go to something like eBay and you've got stuff in your cart and then you leave, it deletes everything in your cart. So when you go back, you've got to sign back in, you've got to re-authenticate, you've got to say. Whereas this system would be good for stuff like that, because you go to your Amazon or your eBay or whatever, you put stuff in your cart or you put stuff that you're watching, and then when you go back there, it's still there. So
yeah, I saw some people on I saw some people on Reddit were saying you can get really good plugins for your browsers that are selective cookie deletion, so it deletes it from everything except for the sites you specify. So if you go to like eBay and it says, do you want to delete cookies when you exit this, then you say no, The next time you go there, your eBay cookies are still there, but if you go to like Reddit or Slashdot and you don't want to save the cookies, then when you leave that site or close the tab, it'll delete all of those cookies because you weren't logged in anyway and you don't really care.
Yeah, that's clunky.
It is, but it's the best we've got so far.
Yeah, I get that. And the thing is, though, most people who... this is kind of the problem, though. The people who are aware of cookies and what they do aren't the people that have this problem anyway. It's the Joe Blow, the mum and dad, the grandmas, the EU, who don't understand how the world actually functions on the internet. They're the ones who go, oh no, this is installing malware because it's tracking me and it's going to come and hunt me in the middle of the night and shoot me in the head. You know, that's sort of the problem here. Like, this is great for Firefox to do this. I absolutely think it's fantastic. But once again, the average mum and dad consumer don't use Firefox.
No.
They use Chrome because it's all over the place, or they use IE because it's all over the place. They're not going to use Opera, which has a similar feature. They're not going to use Brave. They're not going to use Firefox. And Chrome and IE are the ones that aren't going, well, Edge, and can't call it IE anymore. It disappeared. But they're the ones who aren't going to implement this. And yes, they technically do have plugins that make this sort of thing work. That's the target audience who's not going to use those plugins.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, you're still dealing with Facebook at the other end of it. So when you have a phone conversation with somebody and you mention anchovies, for the next 3 months, you get ads about anchovies on Facebook.
Oh, thanks. That's all I'm going to get now.
Yeah, I know. You want there'll be anchovies on Facebook now.
You know what scared me? Yesterday, I thought I should buy some Listerine mouthwash. Didn't say it to anybody or anything. Guess what I got an ad for today that I haven't had in the last 6 months?
Yeah. I know. Well, it says it knew it was time, see? They've been tracking your history and they know.
I think part of this problem is that the browsers enabled the ability to have cross-site cookies.
Yeah.
If they'd left it, they must have had, advertising companies throwing millions at them saying, you need to enable this so we can track people everywhere. Because it's not like Facebook can come up with the technology to embed into the browser to force it to use cross-site cookies. Cookies were invented. You log into google.com and it remembers you next time you come back. You don't have to type in username, password.
Yeah.
Then the browsers say, hey, what if there are people like, if we give you some money, maybe I can use that Google cookie on Facebook and link them and they can see where you've been and what you've been doing. And then you go to Amazon and it says, oh, I remember you're talking to your friend on Facebook about Listerine. So you probably want to buy, here's the latest products from Listerine and competing. And it was all made by the web browser companies. They're at fault, but I can only guess the reason they enabled cross-site cookies is because people said, here, if we give you lots of money and you do this, then you can be happy and we can be happy, and screw over the person at the other end.
You know, when this kind of all really started was...
Flash?
Foursquare.
Foursquare.
Where everywhere you went, you
checked in.
Yeah. That really was the start of this whole... I mean, there was bits and pieces in place, but Foursquare really was the amalgamation of all this different processes and putting them in one spot.
Who ended up buying that? Somebody must have bought that because
it's still
there's
still
a lot of technology and stuff.
AB InBev partners with Foursquare to help expand internationally. Their website still exists. It's just it's not what it used to be anymore, but they're introducing nearby places. There's still a location matching service. Leading location technology platform. So they took all that stuff, all that data that we gave them years ago.
Yep.
And ran with it.
I thought somebody like Facebook or someone should have bought them by now.
I thought Facebook tried back in the day, but they didn't want to be part of them. But that's sort of where, like Facebook check-ins have run that. They've continued with that to some degree, but it was really Foursquare. From my memory, anyway, that was the sort of the start of that, the amalgamation of location, and because you'd check in and then you'd say what you were doing there, and then your friends would say, "Oh, they've been there and they've done this." So that was kind of that amalgamation.
You're like,
of
oh,
data
that person
started.
likes Subway because they go there 3 times a week, and let's send Subway ads.
And then it didn't take long for like Twitter and Facebook and well, even actually would have been MySpace back then to tag onto that sort of location sharing and that thing. Oh, this person just checked in here, you know, and they did this, and to tell us about your experience, you know, like.
Yeah.
So
Here's some
it's
other
sort of-
things you might like that are similar to that.
Yeah, and that kind of started the whole amalgamation of data. So it's really like it's our own fault in some regards because
They gamified it is what got it. So remember,
Yeah,
I'd be sitting on the train going from Sydney City out to Parramatta and trying to quickly check in as I went past train stations so I could be listed on that one.
and then after that they did that
Foursquare,
Pokemon Go
Foursquare Swarm.
Swarm, yeah, that's it. They did Swarm. Once they did that, then everyone was checking it
That was
everywhere.
it.
And then they did Pokemon Go, which was very, very similar. You basically had to check into a location. That would tell you if there was something there.
And that started with the what did they have before?
Like Ghosts or whatever it was.
I used to play. It was a game that was made by Google's Niantic.
Yeah, it was the two sides, like Red Team and Blue Team or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah. That was, I played that for a while. And that was the same sort of thing. When you check into an area, it was whose team was strong in
Ingress.
that area. And Ingress, that's it.
Yeah, Ingress, and then what else did they have? Field Trip was their first one, apparently. Then Ingress.
That was more of the Field Trip was more like a what do they call it? Geotagging, like a
yeah, they tell you what's at
geohunting
locations and
sort of-
stuff.
like a geo-hunting sort of thing.
Yeah. Then Field Trip, then Ingress and Ingress Prime, End Game Proving Ground, Pokemon Go. Now they got Harry Potter Wizards Unite, Catan World Explorers, Transformers Heavy Metal, Pikmin Bloom, and Peridot.
Have to get into Harry
All of
Potter.
those tracking you everywhere and sharing your data.
Man, I used to wonder why my battery used to last like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Constant GPS updates, constant sound.
Then you get to be that guy who buys 99 phones and puts it in a little trolley and carries it down the main street so that everyone thinks there's a traffic jam there and it fills Google.
That was, well, remember when
still
Waze
doing
first came out? Yeah, well, remember when Waze first came out, they always confirmed, like, Google would go, hey, there's an accident here, and Waze would go, hey, Google said there's an accident here, but can the users confirm this? Like,
Yep.
they didn't automatically put up a thing saying there's definitely a thing. They'd go, oh, we just need the users to confirm that for us.
And then Google
They had
bought
more
Waze.
Yeah. It was some magic number. It was like if they had more than 100 hits in 60 seconds or something, that was confirmation of that being a problem.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so it's all fun and games.
Do you dream of using the GNOME shell on your smartphone? Well, the reality is much closer than you think. Of course, if you're familiar with Linux phone development, you should have heard of and maybe even tried Phosh by now, P-H-O-S-H. This is a mobile UI loosely associated with GNOME project, but spearheaded by Purism, with design by Tobias Bernard. It uses core GTK technologies and comes with the UI inspired by GNOME Shell, but not using Mutter. Now work on making the real deal, GNOME Shell and Mutter work on mobile is picking up pace. A new grant from the German Ministry of Education is GNOME developer Jonas Dressler details in a new blog post allowing GNOME developers to manifest their mobile ambitions a touch faster. In his overview of work to date, Dressler shares a couple of rather impressive real-world demos plus concept art. He also gives a brief glimpse into the newer mobile-friendly GNOME Shell running on an actual Linux smartphone, namely the PinePhone Pro. While funding secured to further iterate on and expand mobile support in GNOME Shell, many of these concepts are leaping from pixels to production code.
Still, it's a journey, as Dressler explains. We're not expecting to complete every aspect of making Gnome Shell a daily drivable phone shell as part of this grant project. That would be a much larger effort because it would mean tackling things like calls on the lock screen, PIN code unlock, emergency calls, flashlight, quick toggle, and other small quality of life features. But he adds the basics of navigating the shell, launching apps, searching, using the on-screen keyboard, etc. are doable in the context of this project, at least as a prototype stage. So there you go. If you want to try out Gnome Shell on your phone, get a Pine phone. Give it a go.
Well, the Pine phone was released middle of last year.
It's supposed to be really secure, isn't it?
It runs Plasma Mobile OS, UB Ports, Sailfish OS, and others. It's got a quad-core processor, 3 gigs of RAM. Does have a bootable Microsoft has a bootable micro SD card to help you with installation. Has 32 gig eMMC storage. There's a 1440 by 720 IPS screen. Then there's the Fairphone, which has a better camera, slightly higher spec. The Librem 5 smartphone focuses heavily on user privacy while featuring open source operating system, Pure OS. It's not based on Android. 3 gig of RAM, quad-core Cortex A53. Pro 1X, which supports Ubuntu Linux Touch. The Pro 1X is a flip-up phone with a keyboard.
Oh, all right.
It has Snapdragon 862 processor, 6 gig of RAM, AMOLED Full HD screen. Then there's the Voila.
Voila.
It runs Ubuntu Touch. Comes with pre-built VPN, octa-core Mediatek processor, 4700 milliamp battery. So yes, there's a few options. Actually, just looking at the Pine phone, just curious to see how much it costs. Pine phone. Let's see. Expected restock June 2022. $149.
There you go. Sounds all right.
That's not bad for what it is. OS Majango with Plasma Mobile. It's an all-winner A64 processor, 64-bit quad-core, 1.2 gig ARM, Cortex A53. Internal memory camera. I mean, it's only a 5 meg camera, so there's nothing special there, but it's got 4G,
Yep.
wireless LAN, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, USB Type-C, all your normal sensors, 3,000 milliamp battery. So, for that price, it's not a bad little unit.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious about this Pro 1X with the flip out keyboard. It looks like a pretty cool bit of gear, actually.
Yep.
Just trying to see. It's pre-ordered. Shipping in July 2022.
Oh, there you go.
Android Lineage or Ubuntu Touch. Has a flip-out QWERTY keyboard, which is actually quite big. You can thumb type on it.
Nice.
It's a 6-inch AMOLED with curved edges. Physical keyboard layout, 5-row, 64 key staggered backlit landscape keyboard with mechanism sliding. Layouts QWERTY. 6 gig of RAM, 8 gig of DDR4 storage, 128 gig expandable via micro SD, up to 2 terabytes, 8 meg front fixed, 12 meg rear. Does 4K 30 frames a second video. Qualcomm Snapdragon 3200 milliamp battery, or your normal connection stuff. Dual SIM.
Kind of a bit like the hip top phone style landscape with a slide out keyboard.
The 256 gig, 8 gig of RAM. Give me the price. Show me the money. Show me the money. Let's see.
Pro One X smartphone. Oh, they've had it's a Indiegogo, and they've had 2 million pledged.
$899 US. So it's a relatively expensive one compared to the other one being 150. But
Yep.
still, I mean, to me, it would be the closest. Although the Pine phone comes with, you can get a case and a keyboard for the Pine phone
Oh, okay.
for $50. It's a hard case that mounts it, and it's a flip up, and the keyboard's on the flip.
Yep.
And it's an extra $50. So I was going to say the other one's a replacement for the BlackBerry crowd,
Yeah.
but I think this one would do it too. It's a like a laptop keyboard. It's a pretty decent sized keyboard.
The Pro One X is pre-installed with either Lineage, Ubuntu Touch, or Android.
Oh, and this keyboard has, so as well as the phone, the 4 amp hour battery on the phone, the keyboard has a 6 amp hour battery built into it as well.
Ah.
And when you dock the phone, it charges the phone from the
Keyboard.
dock.
Nice.
That's cool. So for $200, you get yourself a portable workstation, basically.
Yeah.
Hackers are going to love that.
Or tech people
really
when the
are.
boss is like, can you just SSH into the server and restart the Apache? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like literally, like they're going to absolutely love it. Like it's not only you running Linux in your pocket on your phone, but you got to flip out keyboard so you haven't got to try and touch type. That's really cool. I want one now. I don't know. I don't
Same,
know what to do
right?
with it. I just want one.
Just want one because you
It's gonna
can.
speaking of phones,
Yep.
Open source Thunderbird is coming to
Ooh.
Android.
Nice.
So Thunderbird, the open source email application, email application, is coming to Android thanks to the K9 Mail Android email app, which is joining Thunderbird to become the official Thunderboid.
That's the Boston one, the Thunderboid.
I'm not tired. You are. I'm saying it right. You're just hearing it wrong. The Thunderbird Android email app. I nearly did it again. 2 years ago, Mozilla Foundation moved Thunderbird to its subsidiary, MZLA Technologies Corporation, in a similar ownership structure to Firefox under the Foundation's subsidiary Mozilla Corporation. The new subsidiary, really? 3 times? Allowed the Thunderbird project to pilot its own path with new features like open PGP end-to-end encryption and a long-awaited mobile app. According to the Thunderbird team, talks between Thunderbird product manager Ryan Lee Sips and K9's lead maintenance Christian Kettler over a possible collaboration for Thunderbird email app started in 2018. Fast forward to 22, and 2 have decided the best path forward is for K9 to simply join Thunderbird rather than Thunderbird building its own app. Many Thunderbird users have asked for Thunderbird experience on mobile, which we intend to provide by helping make K9 amazing and turning it into Thunderbird on Android. K9 will supplement the Thunderbird experience and enhance it where our users are able to have great email experience. Our commitment to desktop Thunderbird is unchanged. Most of our team's committed to making a best-in-class email client, and will remain that way. This means K9 will take on Thunderbird name and branding, but K9 Mail will need to be aligned with Thunderbird's feature set and visual appearance. To accomplish that, we've devoted finances, development time to continually improve K9 Mail. We'll be adding brand new features and introducing quality of life enhancements. K9 isn't a hugely popular email app on Google Play, but it's had 5 million downloads from the Play Store. The roadmap for K9 Mail currently includes creating account setup using Thunderbird account auto configuration, improved folder management, support for message filters, and syncing between desktop and mobile. While Thunderbird acknowledges there's been demand for Thunderbird on iOS, the project only says in the FAQ that it's currently evaluating that option. Probably because of their restrictions on what you can and can't access and whatever.
Yep.
The team says it remains committed to desktop Thunderbird, and the K9 will be brought in line with Thunderbird from feature perspective. And syncing between the two will be seamless. And that's basically what I've been waiting for, because I use I'm trying to think of the program. I can't think what it's called. I do use a some email program on Android, but it's horrible. It's
I got
it
like
reminds
3
me-
of them.
Yeah, I know. If you've ever used like Squirrel Mail on the cPanel backend, that's what this thing reminds me of.
Oh, right.
It's just so bad. Like even to forward like an email, I've got to like go into the email. I've got to save the email as a draft, then go into the draft, and then add the email address I want to forward it to from there and send it. Like it's just like, come on.
I've got
So, yeah.
9, which is a really good one. Also, Blue Mail's another good one for Android.
I used to use Blue Mail, but then it do weird things and I couldn't figure it out. I don't know if it's just my phone.
Try 9.
At the moment, honestly, I'm just using the default Android email client.
Does everything.
I mean, it doesn't sync properly. Like the reason I want to use Thunderbird is because at work we use Thunderbird, so all our tasks and our notifications and our calendars and all that go through Thunderbird.
Oh, yep.
And you can't sync that with anything. So, and then I've also got like 12 email addresses that I monitor.
Jeez.
And even though technically they're linked to the same account, there's a huge, like if I do something on the desktop, there's a massive lag before it appears
Anywhere
on the phone, even though they're both technically connected to the same server at the same time.
Yep.
Whereas if it was syncing like with Thunderbird, it would just be instantaneous. You wouldn't have that lag time. You wouldn't need to try and remember if you actually deleted that email or responded to it. Or
Yep.
because that's the other thing too. Like if I respond to an email at work, I can't see the sent emails
Oh,
on my phone, so I can't remember exactly what I've sent. So, but if they were synced, I wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, because sometimes like an email might come into, say, for example, it might come into info at Battery Central Ipswich, but it's more of a personal one, so I'll reply to it, but I'll send it as will at Battery Central Ipswich, and on the Thunderbird it tells me that I've replied to that email, and then it lets me know where I replied to.
Yep.
But when I go to my phone and look for it, doesn't follow the thread because I've sent it from a different email address. It goes to
It gets
the
confused.
sent folder of that one, so I need to be able to remember where I sent it from to find the email.
Yeah.
So, admittedly, I might make some things difficult on myself, but
Yeah.
if it all synced together, and I don't understand, given that Thunderbird is open source and has been forever,
Yep.
why is it taking so long to get onto Android? It's like GIMP.
Yeah.
Somebody just hurry up and put GIMP on Android
Hurry.
because there's bugger all decent.
We will have free Photoshop soon, so no problem, right?
Oh, yeah, because that's not going to annoy all these people who just spent thousands of dollars buying Photoshop. Offering it for free, that's not going to upset anybody.
No.
That's like Microsoft goes, hey, all those people using 365, don't worry about it. It's free now.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Uh,
But so many people have jumped ship on. I think that's part of the reason they're doing it, because they've lost so much business on Photoshop. So many people are going to GIMP now.
yeah.
Even like corporations, like I know a lot of. I was watching a YouTuber the other day, and he works in a graphic design studio for a major big American firm, and they've got, I think he said something like 3,000 employees or something. So they had like a massive user license for Photoshop.
Yeah.
And it was just getting stupid expensive. So everybody moved across to GIMP.
No problem then.
So they lost like not only the subscription to Photoshop, but they don't need Lightroom anymore because GIMP's got that built in. So like these 4 or 5 Photoshop programs that they were paying for,
Yeah.
they
They're
just
not.
moved everyone across to GIMP and went, hey, you've got a couple of weeks to learn it, so knock yourself out. And, you know, they
like-
cost however much per head by 30,000, you know,
like all the big movie companies moving to stuff like Hit Film and that, because it's much more affordable.
Hit Film and DaVinci Resolve and all these other programs.
Yep.
They're either well, they're free for personal use, not free for commercial use.
And less
but their
bloated.
commercial pricing's so cheap, and they're so much faster.
Yep.
And the community support's better, and the plug-in support's better, and it's just
No corporate overhead.
these big companies that had dominance, like it happened when Apple shot himself in the foot with their
Movie.
being the world leader in video editing and graphic editing at the time. They shot himself in the foot with I think it was the iMac or one of the early Power Macs or whatever it was, and basically all the CGI departments in the world overnight and all the recording studios basically moved across to PCs overnight.
Yeah.
Cost themselves hundreds of millions of dollars because of this one thing they changed.
And they're never going back either.
And they didn't.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Email us willowarlock@aussietechheads.com.au, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.